My name's Joel Rosen, and I am in MD3. Prior to coming to this school, was a chiropractic physician for 20 plus years. And I got my undergraduate in exercise physiology, psychology, and then I went through chiropractic college, practiced for many, many years, and started getting into more of the functional medicine, holistic nutrition, genetic test interpretations. I sort of saw the writing on the wall, and that this could only take me so far. My wife had wanted me to go back to medical school 20 years prior, and I waited till my kids got older before I would do that. What appealed to me with St. James is the fact that although I had all that education, I never did my MCAT, and I didn't want to spend another year or 2 years pursuing my MCAT. So I looked for schools that would accept you based on your criteria that you already had or your prerequisites that you had. And along with the research in that, the success rates, the accreditations, and the actual financial investment involved all checked the boxes for me to decide to come to St. James. So here we are. So part of the interview process for being accepted into St. James is that very question of how are you going to adjust to a new environment, a new country, and balancing the demands of work and taking care of yourself. So I told them, like I'll tell you, it wasn't my first rodeo. When I went to chiropractic college many, many years ago, I basically picked up and went from Toronto to California. So I was already used to the process. I knew right away when you get accepted that pretty much your school day and night or your life is your school day and night, and your cohort or the people that you go to school with are in the trenches with you, and you're able to share your experiences, put together a study group, understand your trials and tribulations, but you can't be an introvert. You have to be able to reach out, and when you need help or someone else needs help, be able to support each other. So I had taken that skill set with me and that mentality coming to St. James, obviously many, many years later. So as far as the adjustment, your schedule is pretty much from morning to night accounted for. And after that is the fact that you need to study and make sure you're prepared. So you don't have a lot of room for error. You basically, unless you're not serious and you're wanting to maybe explore what the island can give you, but otherwise, if you're completely committed, you don't have the opportunity to get sidetracked. You show up to class, you study, you rinse and repeat and wake up and it's a new day. So that makes it a lot easier to be able to adjust to the new culture. I will say that it is definitely different than the North American mentality as far as going to the grocery stores or service at restaurants, or just the culture is different. You're not going to have the availability of the creature comforts that you typically have where you're coming from. But again, if you're going to school to receive your education and be able to be successful, you don't have time to worry about that. So I think the successful transition was based on knowing why you're here and not being an island on an island, and making sure you reach out to your classmates and support them just as much as they support you. It's an accelerated program. And so for people that don't have a science background or a strong science background, even though mine was many, many years ago, I continue to keep up with continuing education in my profession. So it made it easier for me to acquire the information. But a lot of my classmates are struggling because they didn't have that science background, and it's an accelerated program. So it's not like because you're in a Caribbean school that the education is going to be easier because, oh, let me go have fun in the Caribbean and it's going to be easier. It wasn't as potentially stringent to get in. It's the same information. Information is information. And when it comes time to taking your your USMLE and your MBME courses, just because you're going to a Caribbean school doesn't mean that the information is different. If anything, it's going to be harder to accumulate, because on top of the absolute amount of information you need, you are also potentially fairly or unfairly scrutinized that you're not coming from a US-based school. I will say I want to get into more anti-aging medicine, things like peptides and hormones and stem cells, something like that. I like the idea of research. I like the idea of understanding ways to extend lifespan. So I want to get involved in that aspect as well. My wife wants me to get into anesthesiology, so I haven't ruled that out either. I do find that there is when you're a holistic doctor, you get into more of the backstory. You spend more time with patients, and that can be great. But at the same time, you can't control their marriage, their taxes, their finances, their children woes. So there is something appealing coming from the alternative field to the traditional field, where a lot of traditional doctors go to the alternative field because they want to have a bigger role. On the flip side, it might be appealing to be able to go from the alternative to the traditional, because now you just basically keep to your specific profession, be able to implement that and not worry so much about all the extra static. So I don't know exactly what profession I want to get into, or what specialty I want to get into, I should say, but I know it has to be with something that is more cutting edge, more based on prevention, longevity, anti-aging, somewhere in that field. If you don't have a strong medical background, I think it is going to be hard for you. If you are not serious about your commitment and your why are you doing this? Why are you going through medical school? There's a lot of things you can do besides medicine to be financially successful. And if your reasons are not based on your desire, your interest, and being fascinated, because when I learn the information, for me, it's fascinating. So I think all of those things are helpful for you to be able to get over the hill and realize, I think, keeping a balance with knowing that you're not going to know it all. And it's going to be overwhelming at times when you're tested on recalling your information, but realizing it's a marathon and you're going to continue to acquire information. You're not going to know it all. You need to know what you don't know and keep an even keel mindset about it. And that will help you get through to the end of the milestone.